Hi everyone, I'm back with episode 10 in the Vintage Made Modern series, and we're going to talk about chapter 9 in the book, A Thimble Full of Knowledge. So I'm showing you the graphics to start off with, and the essay is Appreciation, the Key to Knowledge. You'll see this graphic here, and this might give you an indication of what the chapter is about. A little bit about back to school activities. I want to share the original piece. I thought it'd be fun. This is the inspiration issue that was from 1924, and you can see here graphic of the children heading off to school. It has some embellishments around it of embroidery, and those I wanted to share with you actually came from a vintage pillowcase. And I think that's where I have found so many beautiful embroideries. And this one actually has crochet too. And so what you can see here is where we took the elements that were from this pillowcase and then scanned them and applied them to the pages of the book. And the fun thing about this pillowcase border is this project was actually another Vintage Made Modern project. And we took and made this into a little girl's pillowcase dress. So there you go. Project idea for you. And next I want to show you another piece from the beginning of the opener, which is, you'll see this graphic element that you probably don't know what it is just looking at it from the page in the book. So I'm going to share it with you. And we talked about it a little bit in my gingham episode, because you can see here's the gingham, but this is the actual technique to smock the gingham. And I love the accent of the black thread. So that is a couple of the vintage embroideries and textiles that became part of the book. Moving on, I thought I'd read you a little bit of the essay from Mary, and it's the opening words. Appreciation is the key to knowledge, the key to art, to literature, to good work. I love this quote too. The woman who does not understand texture, beauty, and service of a piece of cloth will have the most difficult time in making a beautiful garment out of it. So it's talking about just knowledge and appreciation of things can bring you the knowledge and interest. So it's really a wonderful essay. Moving on, you'll see this little poem too, which I thought was fun because it really talks about how there is no better teacher than a child. And it goes on to explain that why is a child such a good teacher? Because they ask questions and they seek knowledge. So again, more inspiration from the inspiration department here. Moving on, this is a fun little article about a woman's workshop can be her kitchen and organizing it and having all the right tools and how important it is for anyone really. And then we're going to move on to talking about something I was really excited to talk about. And it is from the Department of Cookery, and preserved fruits give pleasure. So I'm going to again read you some inspiring words. The other day, I read a charming little poem in which jars of jellies and preserves stored away on shelves were compared to jewels, bright and sparkling. This also goes on to say, when properly made and attractively packaged, the excellence of these products make them ready to sell. So the idea of doing, not only making the preserves, but then packaging them in a beautiful way, and how that can make for a successful business if you chose. So a quick, something I want to share, a jewel that I made. So I was lucky and I found this is freezer jam. If you're familiar with making jam, one option is you can use Sure-Gel and freeze it. And so this was a jar that I actually made last summer that I found in the freezer just yesterday, and it's strawberry. So I remembered when I had been up in Michigan, I'd found at an antique shop, I found this wonderful label booklet, and it had a wonderful strawberry label that I was perfect for talking to you today. So I'm going to show you that booklet because it's one of those vintage treasures that, again, Vintage Made Modern still has modern applications. And I'm going to flip to the pages that have, you can see where it was all sorts of labels, whether they were plain labels, beautiful graphics. So here's one for grape jam, for raspberry jelly. You saw the strawberry. So there's several styles for each type of fruit jam. So this little treasure was a special one to find. And it also had these awesome cool numbers and letters in the back of it. So 500 household labels, canning, general purpose, mailing. So that's a fun little treasure. And I thought I'd share, since we were talking about fruit and we just talked about Michigan, how about we talk about cherries? And cherry jam is another one of my favorites. Here you can see a couple vintage pieces related to cherries. This is a postcard that I found a few years ago that shows the cherry orchards in the Grand Traverse area, which is near, they look like the orchards where I go pick cherries in the summer. And this was a vintage cherry embroidery design that we ended up enlarging and redesigning a bit for this pattern. And this is one of our free embroidery patterns that go along with our video series that teaches you stitches. And the series is the one that this is used in is learning the chain stitch to do the stem. And later on, we'll talk about the cross stitch too. All right, moving on, let's look ahead into further into the chapter, and you'll see some things related to school, whether it be making nourishing lunches and Amy's vintage advice. We also have some color palettes for planning your wardrobe for fall, thinking ahead. And then moving into the Department of Sewing. And this little spread is on cross stitch. And you can see there are some samplers featured on the pages. Well, there's also instructions giving you how to create your own cross stitch, whether you do it from a stamped embroidery piece or you do it from cloth that has so many squares per inch that you follow. Ada cloth is what it's called today. So I thought I'd share some of my samplers that I have in my collection. And samplers were a way that children were taught to learn embroidery stitches and learn to sew. So let me first show you a book that we have that's again on the Vintage Made Modern series theme. And that book has a chapter in it, or a section, that talks about samplers and children making samplers. So the Sew It book is a really fun collection of projects for children to learn to sew and craft. Everything from tie-dye to making a child's kimono pattern to making doll clothes, even some weaving. So, but I wanted to share the section that talked about the samplers. Next up, I thought I'd share a couple samplers that I have in my collection. This is one called Home is Where the Heart Is. And you can see the combination of the black with the accents of color. And then another one that is To Love and Be Loved is the Greatest Joy on Earth. Again, a combination of the colorful border and the black. I call it black work, they call it. Where else to learn the cross stitch? Where can you go? Well, we have embroidery. Not only can you learn the cherries, but you can learn the cross stitch with, this is another one of our patterns on our embroidery series, Crossroads Embroidery, that we've done videos for tutorials. And this is Love, which is just the simple embroidery. All right, moving on, one last thing I wanted to get to in the chapter was, of course, the magic pattern. And we have a comfortable, economical apron to share with you. And that apron pattern, which is right here, is the same pattern or the sewn sample is here on the mannequin. And I will show you a quick detail on this page. First of all, and then I'll go back and read the description so you'll learn more about the actual yardage and things. But this little illustration shows you some ways to finish edges of your apron, and we went ahead and used one of the methods which they show, which is the blanket or buttonhole stitch. And that's the stitch that you can see along the edges of the apron here around the bib of the apron. They also, in this instruction, give you an option to use rickrack for the edge. So you can imagine a cute little scalloped edge would be created if you used rickrack. So I wanted to share that with you. And then let me quick read the words of wisdom here. Such a stylish and economical apron may be cut from a yard of material, depending on one size, and with very little effort because of the small amount of shaping needed. In fact, the belt is made to fit securely either at the waistline or above the hips. It takes away the strain that is likely to occur when the weight of the apron hangs from the strap about the neck. So I always love aprons that don't pull at the neck or have that weight back there. So that was another piece of good advice. Look in the description to see links to, for instance, the Sew It book and any of our other apron patterns. We have a wonderful selection of apron patterns at Indygo Junction to choose from. So make sure you hop over there to the website and take a look. Thanks for watching. See you next time.